Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd. I think I got that right. I'm not 100% sure. And today we're going to talk about some of the dark sides of community, which is a really weird thing for me to talk about. But also, sorry I got started a few minutes late. I woke up feeling absolutely hit, thanks in no small part, I'm sure, to Ring Fit Adventure, which I decided to start yesterday. And I went into it with a mentality of, how bad can it be, right? I've already done Beat Saber for months and months on end. Like, how bad can Ring Fit Adventure really be? Is rough, and it puts you through a range of exercises that I did not anticipate, and in turn I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck by the time I was done with like 25 minutes of play, and I was like, man, this is going to take some time to get acclimated to. Adrian, Rob, Caitlin, Neo, how are you guys doing this morning? Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. So today's topic is such a weird one for me to cover because usually I'm such a big proponent of things like connecting with your audience, right? Like connecting with people. And that's not just a YouTuber thing. That's just a human thing. That's a species thing, right? And we are hardwired to connect with other people in the spirit of things like cooperation or feeling a closeness. Like, they've done tons of psychological studies showing that, people just, they like to connect with other people. It's just one of the hallmarks of being a human, I guess. Dad, good morning. Part of that is, and I'm not here to scare anybody, right? My point here is not to be like, okay, I want you to turtle up because I think that's a horrible idea, and that's something I did for a long time. And some of these fears may be a part of that, but that's the thing. Even though I think that connecting with other people is a great thing, you don't always know who you're connecting with online. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is because it's not just that there's some inherent, just natural dangers that you can come up with connecting with a bunch of strangers on the internet, but then there's also some that are more personal, right? They're not as overt. They're not something that like threatens you in the conventional sense, but they are things that I think can hurt you both from a creative standpoint and emotionally and as a person, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, because one of the things that happens as you continue to put content out on YouTube and you interact with people in chat or on social media or in different arenas is it inherently opens you up, makes you a little bit more vulnerable, and you kind of start to develop connections with people. And again, I think that's a tremendous thing, but it's also not without I guess some cautionary tales or some things associated with it, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I thought it was sort of in keeping with the spooky vibe of October, but also talking about some of the things that are maybe considered a little bit less positive, because I'm not always 100% joy bomb on here sometimes. It's important to talk about these things, so I thought that's what the topic would be this morning. So one of the first reasons to kind of be a little bit wary of connecting with everybody online is everybody you meet online is a stranger, and just like real life, not every stranger is someone who's going to necessarily have your best interests at heart, right? Sometimes you meet people in a face value that seem like on the surface they're just a good person, they're somebody who really cares about you, but then underneath there could be something more insidious at play. And we've certainly heard horror stories on about people on the internet connecting with someone and finding out they're not who they thought they were and everything. But it's a real thing that you should definitely be cognizant of, and just be smart when you interact with people online. If you don't know somebody that well, if you haven't built up a rapport and a trust with somebody on YouTube or any of the social media accounts that are associated with your YouTube channel, be careful with that, right? Wait till you get to know somebody before you go all in with a lot of the stuff that you're willing to divulge or how you're willing to connect with somebody, just in the interest of your own safety, right? Be careful about sharing your personal details online. These are all things that are important to be cognizant of, whether you're a creator or if you're just somebody who watches YouTube, right? There's a lot of shifty people out there, and it makes sense to kind of be alert, or just utilize best practices, right? Just be smart when you're out there sharing information on the internet. Now, from a creator, when it comes to accessibility, that is, again, and that's one of the things that I pride myself on this channel, right? Like, one of the things that I like is that, to the best of my ability, I respond to every comment. If people DM me, I answer every DM. I try to stay in communication with people as much as humanly possible. Now, one of the things that I've talked about at length before is that I don't know how scalable that is, right? Well, it's something that I enjoy doing, and, I love to have a conversation directly with people to gain their insights or to offer, helpful information where I'm able to do so. That's a wonderful feeling, but it may not be sustainable in the long term, and that's a nut that I've yet to crack, but that's a problem I'll solve when I get there. But at the same time, I think another thing that's important to remember about that is, for your own emotional well-being, is to be careful about how many people you do connect with. Not because it's bad to connect with people, and there are wonderful people you've met, and some of the best friends I've ever made have been on this platform, but at the same time, you can absolutely spread yourself too thin. Like, if you're constantly responding to DMs, if you're constantly responding to emails, or trying to keep up with comments, and that's just for well-meaning people. That's to say nothing of trolls or people who just want to roll up on your content and bomb up your day, right? And, when it comes to, things like that, and you're trying to stay connected to all these different people, you can absolutely just run yourself ragged trying to keep up with the communications that come from everybody. Like, even just doing a single live stream chat can be exhausting. Not a slight against you guys. Right now it's totally manageable, but in the future I'm not sure how crazy it might get. And the other thing too is that there have even been like studies done that show that most humans can only mentally and emotionally keep track of about 250 connections total, now I'm sure that's, at least somewhat subjective, right? I'm sure that some people can manage relationships or connections with way more people than that, and some people probably only have the capacity to do far less than that. But nonetheless, like, there is a limit to how much we can maintain connection with people. And I think one of the biggest reasons to be aware of those limits, or to really be honest with yourself about when you start to feel some discomfort when it comes to trying to keep up with people, is that it's a way to keep yourself from being spread too thin, and making sure that you don't get basically just what I think is a side effect of burnout, and feeling like you're just spread so thin that it's impossible to keep up with everybody. The next thing that I would say, aside from just like the emotional well-being and trying to make sure that you're just not stressing yourself out trying to keep track of everyone, is sometimes it can put you into a people-pleasing mentality, right? You become so obsessed with the face that you're putting out on YouTube, or how you're going to present yourself, or your content, or the sort of brand that you've built around what you create, that you feel like you can't say no to people. And that's one of the things that I talked about last week, I think, was when it's okay to say no, or some situations where you should say no. But if you become so obsessed with your connection with people, sometimes saying no can be a really daunting thing. Or you might think that if you say no to somebody, that immediately you're saying no to progress for yourself, or somehow you're letting yourself down, or somehow you're not being brand representative if you're not just completely open and positive and set no boundaries whatsoever whenever you connect with people online. So in that regard, and the other thing is, nobody really likes a people pleaser, right? If you're somebody who the only thing that you ever do is you just resort purely to flattery, and that's the only thing that you're really known for, most people tend to pick up on that. I mean, that's as bad as being a toxic person in some ways, right? If you're just someone who's constantly people pleasing and trying to do everything you can to please everybody, nobody really likes that either. So I think that's another danger of constant accessibility, is that it's easy to kind of fall into a people-pleasing mentality. Maybe not because you consciously want to do that, but it might be that you just sort of subconsciously come up with this sort of fear, or this belief that if you don't, then somehow you're letting your audience down, you're letting yourself down, you're letting down the vision that you had for what you were going to accomplish with your channel. And that's not the case, right? There's a reason that, again, like if you're on an airplane, right? There's a reason when they do their whole shtick about what to do in an emergency situation, to put your oxygen mask on first and then put it on somebody else, right? Because you gotta take care of yourself first. So I don't think any of these things are inherently bad. It's just protecting the asset, which is something I tweeted out over the weekend. So yes, it can also put you into a people-pleasing mentality. And the other thing that I think is a danger of that constant connection is it can cause you, like a byproduct of the people-pleasing mentality, is that it can cause you to accept, or be willing to accept, bad opportunities. And I'm not gonna call anybody out or anything, but not too long ago I had a YouTube channel reach out to me, and they basically did sort of a song and dance talking about how successful they were, and basically insinuated that I would be missing a huge opportunity if I didn't sign up with them. But there was something that just sort of gave me a weird feeling about it, right? There was something that, and maybe it's just past experience, because I have connected with so many different people on this platform over the years, but something just didn't feel right about it. And I was very polite in my dealings, and basically said, I would check it out and get back to them, and they basically instantly blocked me. I think they really wanted me to play by their rules and be instantly excited about the opportunity, but as anybody who watches this channel knows, that's not something that I indulge lightly. I don't advocate for accepting every collaborative opportunity that comes your way. Rather, I'm an advocate for things like discernment, right? Getting to know somebody and having an understanding of, their audience, your audience, where that crossover is and how it benefits both parties. So I'm never going to dive right into that. And the person had said, oh yeah, I've watched a ton of your stuff, I think it's really great. And if they had, they would know that's absolutely not how I roll, and that's not something that I would have been willing to accept. However, if I was in the headspace where all I wanted to do was connect with people and I valued it so much, I might have been tempted just to say yes to that, because it would have been a lot harder, I think, to say no or to be discerning in that moment. So I think that's another reason to exercise some caution or some good judgment, whenever you're connecting with people online, especially when it comes to collaborative opportunities, because some of them just might be bad opportunities, and you don't just want to jump on it because it's, something new or fresh and exciting without doing your due diligence. And finally, the last thing that I would say is I think it can really lead to self-doubt, which I kind of already referenced this before. I don't know if this really warranted its own point, but apparently it was important enough in the moment when I was coming up with this stream to go ahead and make it its own point. And it absolutely can. If you connect with people 24/7, you're going to get a lot of opinions 24/7. You're going to get people who, they want to give you what they think you should do with your content. They want to talk about, how you think you should present yourself or your brand. And a lot of them are completely well-meaning people, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with people, trying to look out for your best interests, the legitimate good people that you connect with on YouTube. But at the same time, if you get a constant stream of that 24 hours a day and you're glued to what, a bunch of other people's information, a bunch of other people's dogma, what they think about what you should be doing, it can put you in a place of self-doubt. You can think to yourself like, oh man, if I've heard this from 3 different people, does that mean my content strategy is totally wrong? Or should I stop making videos like this because this one person says that, it's not something that I should be doing? Now, I'm not saying that none of their criticism or feedback is, is valid, right? Because I think that, you can kind of thrive in a big way by soliciting feedback constantly from the people who appreciate what you do. But at the same time, you don't need to take what every single person says as gospel, which that's easy to do when you've only got like 1 or 2 people that occasionally give you feedback. But as you continue to grow and you're getting a lot of people that are giving you feedback, I think it can be really hard to sort of protect your original vision and kind of stay on that path without sort of overthinking or overanalyzing the things that other people are saying. So those are the main points that I have for this morning, and I'll run through them one more time if you're coming out of this a little bit late. But, again, the point here is not to discourage community. It's not to discourage connection. It's not that I'm out to push anybody away from connecting with other people. Rather, my only point is for you to exercise good judgment, man, because there are a lot of things where, there's so many things that encourage you, like, yeah, establish connection with your audience, and yeah, get to know people, and that's what people love. They love connection, and, that's important as a content creator, and it is. But at the same time, that doesn't mean there are no dangers associated with it, both external and internal. And again, just to run through those, the first is that, not everyone has your best interests at heart. And when you first meet somebody, you don't really know them through and through until you've spent a lot of time getting to know them. 2 is for your own emotional well-being, because again, there are only so many connections that you can manage with people internally before it becomes completely chaotic, and you might spread yourself too thin and start to get stressed and get on that road to burnout, which is where nobody wants to be as a content creator. 3 is it can put you into a people-pleasing mentality where you're constantly feeling that you have to say yes or be agreeable or entertain every notion that somebody says, which itself can be sort of stressful, but then it also paints you as somebody who is really just prone to flattery and, not somebody who really genuinely considers other people, but rather just wants to constantly have the sheen of somebody who's approachable, a good person on your channel, which if you're a good person, nothing wrong with that, but, I think you can overdo it, right? And then, it can cause you to accept bad opportunities. It can cause you to be like, I have all these connections with people and a new thing pops up, and if I don't take that, I might be doing myself a disservice, the audience, my content, my vision. And then finally, it can lead to self-doubt, right? When you've got too many cooks in the kitchen, as it were, and you've got tons of people that are giving you advice or feedback on what they think you should do, how you should conduct yourself, how your content should be positioned, it can make you doubt yourself in a tremendous way. So all of these things, I think, are things that are important to be cognizant of, right? And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for this morning. It was just something that I was thinking about because I'm usually such a champion for things like connection and community and, just establishing a solid rapport with people and just generally being a good dude. But that doesn't mean that, you should be a doormat or that you should open yourself up to some of the dangers that I think these pose. So that's where I'm at this morning. I'm going to go to the chat now. And thank you guys all so much for coming out to watch. I appreciate it. A lot going on. Lily, how is Lily? Oh, you're preaching, Bunny. I'm getting so overwhelmed, but hopefully I'm balancing it well. I'm not... What, you mean preaching to the choir? Is that what you mean? If I want to work with someone, I'll always try and keep it on a human level. No numbers, no money. Oh, I'm not saying don't think about the numbers and the money. That's fine. If you're somebody who's on a mission to make money with YouTube and it's a lucrative deal, talk about it. Absolutely, I would consider it. But I think you're right. If the human connection isn't right, or if you're getting red flags, or if you got something in the pit of your stomach that's like, giving you pause, I would pay attention to that. I think people really underestimate a gut reaction. This is, I just about gave up on trying to have a conversation with Clean Solo and the others. Doing fine, Rob. I did crush my test yesterday, as I knew you would, Sushi. Congratulations. I am so glad you were able to do that. Not that I ever had any doubt. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, goodness. Self-doubt is very important and can be a killer if you're doing anything creative. Absolutely. And as somebody who struggles with self-doubt a lot of the time, completely relatable. And that's one of the things when I really started looking at myself and like, what is the root of self-doubt for me? And I realized some of it isn't even self-doubt. Some of it is doubt that sort of gets cultivated because I'm listening to too many people instead of putting my head down and getting to work on the thing that I knew that I wanted to get done. I stick to my guns, but I'll listen and weave it into my vision, and I think that's smart. Like, there's a fine line between just being, like, bullheaded and being open to feedback and trying to find that healthy middle ground where, yes, you're able to I guess in an objective way, consider the criticism or the feedback that somebody's giving you, but not being so married to your own ideas that you sort of have blinders on and you're completely unwilling to accept advice from anybody else. Lily says, it's great sushi. I'm proud of you. Hey, another game collector. Jake, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? There's a ghost behind Josh. He's going to be hanging out here. He's going to be hanging out here until Halloween, Sushi. He's my ghost friend. Until he becomes completely horrified at all of the justice I dispense to Ghosts in Luigi's Mansion 3 when I stream it on Halloween Day. Not really a whole lot I can do. Caitlin, hello. I'm sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I got cold, and then, oh no, don't worry. Like, honestly, I woke up, and I was feeling kind of rough this morning, and I debated not streaming, and then I was like, you know what? It's okay. I think I can get through it, but ultimately, I think it was just muscle soreness from doing the Ring Fit Adventure thing, which is tremendously difficult. Also, Caitlin, I was thinking about you yesterday. Did you see that Luigi is going to get, I think it was a Tetris 99 themed level for Luigi's Mansion 3 on October 25th, so here in a few days? I figured you did, but if not, I knew one person who would really appreciate that. Glad I made it to one of your morning streams finally. I'm glad you're able to make it too, man. What do you think so far? I would love to get feedback from you because I know you, and despite your, horrifying cackle when you chased me down on Friday the 13th in that Gandalfian beard, I do respect your opinion in a significant way, Adrian. So if you have any feedback, I am all ears, man. Even if it's like feedback I don't want to hear, I know I can trust you. Neo says, I was saying to someone yesterday, though, you make it all look so effortless. You just like talking? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, I talk a lot. Sometimes at my detriment. Sometimes I really need to shut up. But, on a YouTube video, probably not the best place to shut up. That would be a really weird video. Unless I was doing like an ASMR type thing, which I've thought about doing. I have some fun ideas for ASMR that I kind of want to pursue. Might try it in November. We'll see. Ghost friend, only friend. That's not true. You're my friend, Jakin. I want Ring Fit Adventure now. Okay, I'm not joking, and I think Friday's discussion is going to be a week with Ring Fit Adventure and how I feel about it. But I'll tell you right now, if you're going into Ring Fit Adventure like, I played Beat Saber, I can deal with it. No, you can't. It's a lot harder than Beat Saber, at least in my opinion. Cancels, wow, I didn't see Luigi theme for Tetris 99. I hope it isn't temporary because I don't think I'll be able to get it for a while. Well, Tetris 99 is free, though. I mean, you don't have to pay. Well, if you're a Nintendo Switch Online, which you have Nintendo Switch Online, don't you, Caitlin? But yeah, Sushi, Ring Fit Adventure, like, it's super fun. Like, I really enjoyed it, but it's no joke. Like, to defeat one enemy on my path in, like, level 1, I had to do 20 squats and then 20 of those, like, overhead resistance push things where you push like this with the ring. And as somebody who hardly ever uses those muscles for anything, because I'm almost constantly at a keyboard, or I'm just like playing Beat Saber at most for my physical activity, it wrecked me. Like, I was super sweaty by the time I got done. That was after like a 20-minute session. You're a calm, relaxing dude. I do what I can, Kieran. Thank you for also being a calm, relaxing attendee. I'm not sure if you're a dude or a lady dude, but I don't want to be rude and make assumptions, but thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate that. News is just everything you do, buddy, and no need to shut up and you speak your mind. Yeah, I mean, that's generally what I do here in the morning, but I try to keep it, somewhat rooted in relevance for the rest of you who are, hustling out there, creating content. Like Chips and Sticks. What's up, man? I think he has at least 2 friends. I have a couple of I've got a few friends. They're not all limited to the spectral variety over here. And most of them are in this chat. I'm liking it. It was great watching some of your other ones. You're doing a great job. YourPlayerTwo. Thank you so much, Adrian. I really appreciate that. But if I do a crappy job, please tell me in no uncertain terms. I need it. Shamoinky Boink says, you do ASMR and I might unsub. No, I'm not talking about like a pure ASMR video. Okay, what I'm talking about is a light dusting of ASMR in service to a video format that I thought would be really fun to do whenever pre-produced content returns here in about 2 weeks. I don't want to spoil it, because I just want to come out of the gate strong with this weird, crazy new idea and see what people think of it. And it's not, like, super crazy, I guess, but I thought it would be fun. It was an observation I had about my personal gaming habits that I thought I could turn into a neat video series, so we'll see how it goes. Adam says, I'm glad I came looking at the required context, and now the guys are looking at me funny. Wait, what? I'm glad I came into this late, some of that required context, now the guys are looking. Wait, which part required context? The spectral variety friendship comment? Also, Adam is one of my real friends. He's amazing. Josh is getting ripped. No, I'm not. Josh, did you pick moderate or extra intense for your settings? I picked one below whatever the most intense setting was. And, I mean, like Beat Saber, like, it's definitely a workout. I think I was just surprised because even though I was like, yeah, you work your core a little bit with some Beat Saber when you have to do, like, the crunches and everything, or, naturally it's a very aerobic exercise, but it's not targeting specific muscle groups the way Ring Fit Adventure is, which I thought was really interesting and very tiring, as I quickly found out. I look up to you and try and look up to you. I'm not always the best role model, but, I do appreciate it. I look up to you, Neo. I've seen you be incredibly jovial on your streams for the one or two that I've been able to pop in on. And I'm glad you're hustling, man. I'm glad you did your first collab the other day. I looked it up, and the Luigi's Mansion 3 theme in Tetris 99 is an event. So, okay, I guess that is going to be temporary then. But still, it's Luigi news. I thought you'd appreciate it, Gonna be mute, need to shower, sorry. No worries, bro. Oh, I'll let you know, bro. I would expect no less, Adrian. Josh is one of my best friends, and likewise. I wouldn't stay in a random Airbnb with somebody who I didn't consider a friend. That's like a recipe for getting my organs harvested or something. It'd be an actual Halloween horror story, Adrian. Feels like I'm a child looking to me. Okay, that's too far, Neo. You're not a child. Because I myself am not grown up, Neo. Truly, I had Starburst for lunch yesterday. Okay, I didn't have it for lunch, but I did actually. Okay, full disclosure. Even though I tried to eat somewhat healthy, I couldn't help myself. I had to pick up a bag of these Starburst Duos. They combine 2 flavors in one. And when I hung out with my friends this weekend, they had a whole bag of these. And I don't want to say that I ate an uncomfortable amount of them, but I did. And the Duo flavors are pretty good, right? They'll have like lemon and berry or lime and strawberry, and they're pretty good. I'm not usually the biggest Starburst fan, and when it comes to chewy candy, I'm more of an Airheads guy. But the flavor was good. I've done collaborations before. Wait, I thought you said you did something for the first time the other day, though, when you messaged me, Neo. Got a few vids I need to make some. Got some cool stuff at ValleyCon this past weekend. Very cool. I assume you'll be doing a recap of that experience. Shaboinky Boink says, I want to be like Kool-Aid Man when I grow up. He is always so positive and he is full of deliciousness. He is, but, I mean, can we also agree that he tends to interrupt people a lot? Even our heroes have flaws, right? Oh, no apologies needed, Neo. I appreciate the compliment, man. No worries. Josh is still going through his rebellious phase. Don't look up to him. To some degree, that is true. But, I think it's good to rebel against things that make sense to rebel against. But you don't just do it for the sake of it. Rebel without a cause, as it were. Oh, yeah! I can only read that Kool-Aid Man's voice. My Q&A and the editing was the first time, and getting hipster as a producer. Okay, I gotcha. But yeah, and I'm curious, just because, that was the topic of today's video, like, sort of, I guess, sort of the things to be cautious about when it comes to connecting with people on YouTube or in your community. Like, have any of you experienced, just a situation, or do you have any feedback or advice, from your own beats where you're like, what, this is something to consider too. This is something else you should be careful about when it comes to connecting with people online. Because, I mean, that's the thing. It's one thing for me to sit here and kind of go, just get into my own head and be like, oh yeah, these things make sense. But you may have insights, again, that I have never considered. So if you have any advice or feedback for other creators that are kind of in a similar place where they're, interacting with the community on a regular basis, or they're trying to connect with people and, build relationships, what tips would you have for them? Which, essentially, what I'm asking is, what tips do you have for me? Because I would love to hear them. But I'm a rebel. Rebels look up to rebels. I think that's probably true. I think a lot of people who have a naturally rebellious nature probably do look up to and admire. Probably rebels in cinema more than anything. There's a lot of people out there that like the Joker in an unhealthy way, I would say. Speaking of which, having now seen Joker, it's not nearly as, horrific as a lot of people would say. Man, like, the media was just painting that out to be just, like, some terrifying, like, oh, it's going to destroy everything, and it's going to inspire people to be horrible and all those, but it's remarkably tame compared to a lot of the other movies you could watch. Like, there are way darker films you could watch than Joker. I was expecting something crazy over the top, but it really wasn't, I didn't think it was that terrible. I mean, maybe it had a more horrifying root in reality or real-life events, which I guess is kind of scary, but, it didn't go to the darkest places I've seen in cinema by any stretch of the imagination. Quicksand, good morning, man. How you doing today? Yes, on camera I try to keep it calm and polite off screen. I'm very protective of my channel so I can get a little hasty. Not that I'm proud of it, but yeah. Oh, I think we can all get a little bit, oh, nasty. So, no, sorry, not hasty. I read that wrong. Well, I think it's good to be protective of your channel, right? I think a lot of people really, don't appreciate just the power of a YouTube channel and connecting with people and what all that means. And I think it's smart to be protective of it, especially if you know that, you have a particular vision that you want to head towards, and what other people recommend may not align with that. I don't think it's inherently, I guess you could be overprotective, right? There's a line like anything. Shaboink Boink says, like a crazy stalker that you end up marrying after 5 years, you find out your whole relationship was all planned out in advance and you end up strangely okay with it. That's super dark. Was this based on a film? And hopefully, that sounds extremely disturbing, Shaboinky Boink. Ken says, last night I made a list of episode ideas after my Luigi cartoon series on the Super Luigi fan channel. Very nice. Just a scenario, not saying this happened. I'm just saying that was remarkably articulate, Shaboinky Boink. That's what gives me pause. I'm not saying I don't believe you, just, it was very specific. Chip says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks that. After seeing it, it wasn't as amazing as people made it out to be either. Yeah, like, it was really good. Like, I thought Joaquin Phoenix's performance was absolutely incredible. I truly, but like, looking back on it, I didn't feel like I necessarily had to go to the theater to get that experience, right? It didn't have any, like, massive action beats or anything that really demanded a theater viewing. I could have enjoyed that just as much at home, I think. Neo says, last week, so many firsts, and it felt good, but the pressure is now so massive. Well, make sure, a lot of the pressure isn't pressure you're putting on yourself, man. It's going to be hard to do good work if you're constantly feeling stressed or pressured. I think there's definitely merit to examining the amount of pressure you're willing to put on yourself. Now, I'm the grandest hypocrite in saying that. I put a ton of pressure on myself, but, still, I think it's something worth considering. I think a lot of us do, actually. Zombieland Double Tap was awesome. Better than Joker, I think, YourPlayerTwo. I want to see it. I may go see it tonight. We'll see. I've got that A-list membership, so I feel like if I don't go see movies constantly, I'm kind of wasting it. But that's the thing. I don't have a lot of confidence in comedy sequels. Like, what was it? Anchorman. Anchorman 2 wasn't the best, and then what was it? Zoolander 2. I love the original Zoolander. I thought it was fantastic. But as soon as I saw the trailer for Zoolander 2, I was like, I'm gonna continue to live my life as if Zoolander was the only one and that it was fantastic. I don't want to sully its memory by seeing 2 and then having it not live up to expectations. Kind of the way that I felt about Anchorman 2. Shaboinky Boink says, hey, you gotta meet your spouse somehow. Do I? Morning, late. Hey, it's okay. I started a little bit late this morning myself, 8-bit. Have you seen American Psycho? Yes, American Psycho is one of my favorite movies. That is a tremendous performance in Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman. I'm sure I will see it. It's hard not to want to go see a zombie movie with Woody Harrelson in it. I just don't know if like the Jesse Eisenberg girlfriend part of the story is going to annoy me, because it looks like that style of humor would wear kind of thin for me pretty quickly. But if you say it's good, I do trust your judgment. I always put it on myself. It's my channel. If I don't work and put it on myself, then no one else will. That's true. You do have to be like your own boss, right? If you don't do anything on your channel, it's not going to get done. And that's one of the things about being your own boss, when it comes to like making content anywhere, whether you're podcasting, blogging, making video, is like no one else is going to yell at you to make stuff. So you do have to be disciplined in that way. Just make sure you're being disciplined and not overbearing with yourself, I would imagine that I will, Adrian. I thought Joker was really good, second only to Heath Ledger. Critics made the movie more polarizing than it actually was. It was well shot and acted movie that told the story, nothing more. I think that's probably a fair assessment. And honestly, I like Ledger's... here's the way I've been describing it, is I think that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is a more accurate Joker, but I think Ledger's Joker is a more fun Joker, at least for me. We got to see him go just full bore chaotic for like 2 hours in The Dark Knight, and that was tremendous, and I enjoyed every second of it. But when it comes to Joaquin Phoenix, I think he did a really good job. I think he probably very accurately portrayed somebody who was suffering with mental illness that can eventually get pushed over that brink. And I think, and I have to say, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, is that one quote that he kind of wrote down in his notebook, where he was like, the hardest part about having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't. which I thought was brilliant, because absolutely, yes, I think that's the expectation everyone has, or I think you see a lot of times in society, is like, we want to care for the people who struggle and they have problems with mental illness, but we have, I think, this weird expectation, like, but you have to be pretty normal, right? Which is completely counter to, the way I think mental illness manifests a lot of the time. Shmoink says, maybe not the story you wished for, but it was supposed to be an original take on a famous character, and I thought it was well done. I really do. I think it was almost better than the first one. Really? Now that is high praise. Because I'm very skeptical of comedy sequels. I've just been burned too many times, man. You remember The Hangover Part 2? Yeah. Chips and Stig says, sorry, man. The thing about this version is that he's not the psychotic mastermind. He's a mental health patient gone wrong. Acting-wise, Phoenix was pretty good. I thought so as well. I completely agree with that. I'm always overbearing myself, just about nothing else with my life. Confident on camera, and that's it. No overconfidence anywhere else. Well, I mean, and I think that's part of the appeal for YouTube for a lot of people, right? Or I think content creators in general. I think that doing this type of work lends itself very well to people who tend to be introverted, or they may not be willing to put themselves out there as much whenever they interact with people out in the real world. So I don't think that's uncommon, man. Like, I certainly feel more confident talking to you guys about points like this than I would if you put me in a random situation out in the real world. I'm like, go talk about stuff. I think I would struggle with that. And if you want proof for that, if you talk to Linda the Gamer Girl, she'll tell you, like, I was real torqued up and nervous about doing the talk at Southeast Game Exchange, even though, I knew it was stuff that I knew fairly well, and it was stuff that I had talked about regularly on the channel in the form of pre-produced videos. I still went into that experience extremely nervous. Like, I was torqued up, for sure. Thankfully, she was kind enough to hang out with me, before the whole thing started, and kind of talked about, she even got me a bottle of water. You're such a sweetheart. I don't think I'll bother with the Luigi's Mansion 3 Tetris event, because I have to earn 100 points in competition mode to unlock it, and I don't think I even get to keep it once the event ends. I'm not sure. That was the first time I'd seen an event like that listed. I've seen that quote on Facebook, and it cut me like a knife, having mental health issues myself. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, a lot of us do. Like, it's weird, because I feel like there's this weird stigma associated with when, like, millions of people all over the globe suffer from some form of it, right? Maybe you just have a light dusting of social anxiety, and that's as bad as it gets for you. But it's certainly not one of these things where it's like, if you're experiencing it, you're the only one, or you have to, kind of resign yourself to this vacuum where you're the only person who's dealing with it. Quick Google search will show you that's not the case for just about every flavor of mental illness that you can experience. Plus, the event only goes on from the 25th to the 29th. Oh yeah, I guess it is pretty short, actually. Sorry I disappeared. No worries, Lily. You got stuff to do. Everybody's busy. Just put Josh on a stage talk. Yeah, that's what it felt like during that event. Rob, welcome back. I brought my kid to a birthday party this past Sunday. I felt very out of place with the other parents and kind of kept to myself, even though I knew most of the people there. I find that it happens to me, the social awkward thing, if I have no connection with the people around me. I kind of felt that way this weekend. So my friends had like this Halloween party, they called it, right, where it was not... There were kids there, so they didn't dress up in like really terrifying costumes or anything, because they didn't want to scare the kids and all that, which I get. So it was more just like a kind of like outdoor sort of like bonfire, kind of hang out, eat pumpkin stuff, and connect with people kind of thing. And it was really fun. But the thing is, I was the odd man out. Like, all of the friends who were there had been friends before my friends Justin and Ben had met me. So I was going in cold to a group of friends who had years of established history together. So I super felt, like I needed to pick my battles, so to speak, right? I didn't want to just like come on too strong and just start diving into conversation with people when I have no real background or context for who they are. Didn't want to look like a loony, but didn't want to look too standoffish either. So I kind of ping-ponged back and forth between, I kid you not, playing Dead by Daylight on the Switch Lite to see if anybody would pick up, and they'd be like, hey, I play games too. And a few of them were huge into games, and that kind of got the ball rolling. But yeah, like social situations, especially if you're going in cold like that, can be incredibly isolating. Like, you don't even need to be somebody who's struggling with mental illness or anxiety to deal with that. Like, it could just be a really intimidating situation. That's why so many people, I think, fall back on the common ground of stuff that everybody can relate to, right? Like, how about that weather? How about that local sports team? I think those things are excellent. They're just like social icebreakers, right? Just so you can kind of get a sense of somebody. Stage fright gets to me. Does it, Sushi? Like, you mean like for public speaking and whatnot? I was panically trying to come up with 20 emails for an orchestra fundraiser. That sounds like something that you could panic about very easily. Definitely easier to talk on YouTube than on stage for me. I would say the same was true. Like, I struggled doing the presentation at SCGE. Anytime I've had to get up in front of a room full of people in person, whether that was in college, whether that was, at different points in my career during meetings and stuff like that, always more stressful than just going live on YouTube. Josh, you frightened me last night. I have this effect on many people. On a positive note, I pre-ordered the first 4 figures online, exclusive limited edition of their Luigi's Mansion 3 statue. Oh, that's super nice. Those things do look cool. Justin was in office with her little potato. As she told me, she said that she was sleepy. Ben is he's a really good dude. He's somebody who loves to play Clancy games and everything. So he's like my dude when it comes to online shooters and whatnot. So I'll be playing with him this weekend for sure. Well, Adam, you're probably not going to get it for Xbox if you get it at all. That's why I don't do face cam. I get uncomfortable on camera. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. It's weird because you're not talking to a person, right, who's organic, and you can, like, gauge their face and read the feedback and everything. You just sort of have to go in blind when you talk straight to a camera for live streaming or pre-produced video. Pre-produced is probably even worse because you can't get the feedback in real time. You just have to publish it, hope for the best, and then kind of gauge how people react to it based on their comments, or worse, their thumbs up or thumbs down, which does not provide as much information. Modern Warfare, Adam. But that's the thing. I've talked to you. I don't think anybody I know is even getting Modern Warfare. I've been on like a couple of different like podcasts and stuff, and like with a group of what I thought was a fairly diverse group of gamers, right? And I'm like, hey, anybody getting Modern Warfare? Maybe we can play some Modern Warfare. And everyone's just like, I'm not getting Modern Warfare. The game's stupid. I'm just like, okay. Like, does Call of Duty occasionally catch hate it deserves? Of course it does. But ultimately, underneath all of that, they provide some pretty awesome multiplayer experiences, so I don't think all of the hate that it catches is justified. If it's a microtransaction-laden monstrosity, sure, I can understand why something like, Ghost Recon Breakpoint didn't do well in the marketplace or critically. But, just saying that only because of the brand name, it's going to be a bad product is not true. Fallout's not doing itself any favors right now, but you know what I'm saying, right? I was going to get Modern Warfare until I lost my job. YourPlayerTwo, that sucks. Well, maybe you could, like, trade in some stuff for it. I'm sure you've beaten some of the more recent titles you've picked up. I'm not getting it because it literally looks like the original remastered twice over. I'm okay with that, though. I like the original. One year I went to a sort of family Halloween party so there would be little kids, and some adults thought it would be fun to dress up as scary clowns. I did not want to deal with crying children. Who thought that would be a bad idea? What kind of friends do you have, Sushi? That's a horrible plan. I was super nervous to meet you and Fabian at E3, YourPlayerTwo. Really? Oh, man, like, I'll tell you this, I wasn't nervous to meet you and Fabian and Mikhail and Chad and everybody else we were hanging out with. Because I feel like we talk so much online on Twitter, like, I mean, you guys are way more active there than I am. But ultimately, I feel like I got to know you so much over the past year or so that I really wasn't nervous about it. That's interesting to know, though. I will be getting it on the Xbox, Adrian. Josh, how do you deal with public speaking? You make it look so natural. Well, right now I'm not really public speaking, right? I mean, right now, there's not truly like 16 people that are just sitting right in front of me watching me where I'm constantly sweating their reaction or analyzing every micro movement of their face or their emotional response or something. All I could do is go off of the chat, which if I wanted to, I could completely minimize the chat and just talk to the camera and, then it's just me. Even though I guess technically I would know that it's not just me. But, I talk a lot, period. Like, I've always been a talker. Usually it's just on a one-on-one basis with, like, friends or family or girlfriend or whatever it is. But, it's not something I ever really had to work at. Like, I just always been a kind of person who doesn't really shut up. But, like, it's an introverted extrovert sort of situation, right? Like, I can be super charismatic, but, like, as soon as the camera goes off or as soon as I'm done hanging out with, like, friends, like, to a party or something like that, and I've been chatty for, like, 2-3 hours straight, first thing I want to do is just come home, curl up in a blanket, watch Lord of the Rings for like 6 hours, 9 hours, okay, maybe 12, don't judge me, and just be quiet. Like, one of my favorite things to do when I'm not talking is to just not talk, because I feel like it drains me really, really quickly. I love it. I love thriving in the chaos of conversation and uncertainty that live streaming provides, but at the same time, I also recognize that it's sort of taxing mentally, so for me, definitely like to go all in on it, but then also super just turtle up and recharge for a bit. People seem to overlook that this was supposed to be the birth of Joker, not his peak. They wanted more Joker and less mental illness. Joker was always a mentally ill. All villains are to a point. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It was never going to be like a bombastic action fair where you see the Joker doing crazy stuff like, pitting two boats full of people against each other and letting chaos unwind. Digging the cobwebs, thank you, Shaboinky Boink. They'll be sticking around at least until, Halloween is over. Did I get Gears 5? Of course I got Gears 5, so if you want to play that, I would be down, Adrian. Josh, have you seen the new Star Wars trailer? Yes. Wait, like, how new are we talking? Like, did it just come out this week, or are you talking about the one that came out, like, a couple months ago at this point? Because if it's the newest, no, I haven't. If it's just a newer one, then yes, I may have. Adam says Modern Warfare is a cross-play to PS4 and Xbox One, so we can play together. Oh, that's awesome. Which makes it better, because dunking on console kids is going to be fun. Maybe you'll dunk on console kids. But, I still want us to be evil together, which at this point, it's looking like it's going to be the first weekend of November and not October, like I thought, Adam, because I forgot about some prior commitments. But can we please be villains together, Adam? I get nervous even in front of camera. Hey, if it makes you feel better, I still get nervous before I go live. Every single time, at least a little bit. It's not as intimidating as it once was, but still, every time before I, hit the button to go live or before I start recording video to make a pre-produced video, I still feel that twinge of uncertainty or self-doubt. I've just gotten better at ignoring it and pushing through it, which it's how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Lily, you and I both. Adrian, no problemo. We were dunking on console during the beta, and it shows who has a controller or mouse and keyboard. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that it shows. I did know Batista was in Gears 5. I'm not overly familiar with Batista aside from, him being Drax, but I still think it's cool that he's in it. We should play for sure. I streamed it on Mixer, YourPlayerTwo. Okay, yeah, I'm down, man. The final trailer for the film dropped last night. I totally missed that, Neo, but I will be on the lookout for it today. Make no mistake. I don't know what I'd do if I met you in real life, honestly. We'd probably, like, crisp high five at the very least. Usually I just give people hugs, but then I realized that I was crossing some people's personal space bubble, so I don't lead with the hug anymore, usually. But we'd probably get tacos, I can tell you that. I'm a big fan. So, or if we were in your country, you could probably, introduce me to fish and chips, I would imagine. Like, the real kind, not, the Long John Silvers we would have here, which I'm sure doesn't stack up. PC won't matchmake with console unless console players opt in, I believe. I'll opt in. Can you opt out? That's the question, Shibwinky Book. I'm happy to opt in temporarily just to test the waters and see how bad I get spanked by the people with mouse and keyboard. But if it's real bad, I don't want to stay there. I want to get out of it. Josh, is it weird I'd ask for a hug if we met in real life? No. I've had people ask me for hugs before. Yeah. I think hugs are underrated and not doled out at a high enough rate. I think some people just need it. Shaboinky Boink console will be opted in automatically if they are partied with PC. Okay, I gotcha. Say to me, Josh, Josh is so awesome. Check out his E3 vid. It shows we met in person for the first time. It's a fun video. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. I'll pop it in the chat. I wasn't super happy with that video. I feel like I could have done better, but again, I had 950 clips to work with. Like, everything wasn't going to make the cut. I feel like I could have done more. But, I mean, that's the thing, again, like, we're always our own worst critic, and you're always going to be overly critical of your work in a way that other people aren't necessarily. But let me see if I can find the E3 recap, and I can link it here. Because that was an amazing trip. I'd never been to California. I'd certainly never met you guys in person or anything, which was the highlight of my trip. And I'd never really seen the grand spectacle that E3 has to offer, which, again, I know a lot of people slam on E3 for becoming less and less relevant as time goes on, and that's not an unwarranted position. But at the same time, that spectacle is so grand and so fun that if you have the chance to experience it, you absolutely should. Because it's just, it's tremendous. It truly is worth seeing at least once in your life if you can make the trip. Hidden Game Room, what's up, man? How are you doing? The number one con of connecting with your audience, you have to talk to them. But that's the thing. If I didn't... oh, wait. Alright, so that's starting at a timestamp, unfortunately. But yeah, that is the video. But that's the thing, though. I've been very blessed to be, accepted into a community of a lot of really great people, including yourself, who I was actually going to mention in an upcoming video, specifically about Sweet Home, because I would not have known about it were it not for you. So, again, Insights in Action, Hidden Game Room here, who, if you're not familiar, has a delightful menagerie of titles on offer. just about constantly. And also shows the gameplay footage along with just the raw cartridges, which I can appreciate. So, how you been, dude? So fun we found each other at the airport. It was because we got lost at the airport, because LAX is massive, and I'm used to like little podunk airports like Columbus, Ohio, or like Huntington, West Virginia, where the airports are comparatively very small. I go to LAX, and I'm like, how do we leave this place? I mean, there's basically just like a constant traffic jam at LAX. Like, I was like, this is terrifying. 950. Yeah. I was shooting. You can ask Adrian or Fabian, like in the chat. They'll tell you, like, I was just shooting constant B-roll. Like, I didn't shoot a lot of A-roll because I didn't want to get in the way of the experience of just hanging out with these guys and connecting with them, being friends, and getting to know them better. So I wasn't constantly like shoving a camera on Fabian or Adrian's face, like, hey, what do you think of E3, bro? Like, I didn't do that. But anytime we were around something that was like, like the gear statue or the incredible. The Microsoft booth, which is really just an entire building, was absolutely phenomenal. I would absolutely film as much B-roll as I possibly could, because I knew I could use that footage later, probably for videos in years to come. So, and I hope I get to go next year too. After the stream, I'm going to try to sleep off some of this cold. I hope you feel better soon, Kaylin. But you are your own community with us now? I don't know. Like, someone said that the other day, like the community you've built, but that sounds weird to me. Like, I don't know. I mean, yes, I would advocate for anybody else to build community, but for me, it feels weird to say that. I think I'm more comfortable saying that I was accepted into a pre-existing community that sort of, hangs out on a regular basis. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. Josh, come to California again. You could be a hermit in the mountains and be friends with the bears. We have a bear on our flag. I will come to California again because I had a wonderful time in your state. I would come back in a heartbeat. Yep, he sure was. That Osmo Pocket thing. Osmo Pocket's a super flexible mini camera that doesn't take up a lot of space. I'm a huge advocate for it. Someone explain the difference between A-roll and B-roll. So what you're watching right now, if this were pre-recorded, this would be A-roll, Lily. A-roll is essentially the main story, the narrative, the thing that you're trying to communicate to the viewer, like the main points. And then B-roll would be if I cut away to, I don't have any really supporting footage that I can cut away to, but I'll just bring up chill for a second. Okay, so if that footage that continued to play, but if I continued to speak to you like I am now over it, that's A-roll, and then that cutaway footage of the puppy, that would be B-roll. And that's completely irrelevant to what I was saying, but generally B-roll is meant to visually support the points that you make with A-roll. So if I'm talking about like man, let's talk about the 5 greatest Metroidvanias of all time, and then while I'm saying that, I cut away to like footage of, like Metroid or Castlevania or, like Hollow Knight or any number of other Metroidvania. Dead Cells? I guess it's a roguelite Metroidvania. I guess I could get away with that. No, not really Metroidvania. She is adorable. Came back to a pupper. Nice. Yes, indeed. Come to Texas? Someday I'll come to Texas. I've never been to that state. Using your puppy jaw? Shameless, I realize. I had to do it. But that be right back scream will, that gets used in the longer streams where a longer break is warranted. But right now, well, I would love to stick around and talk. I gotta get ready for work here in a few minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off. But thank you guys, as always, for taking the time out of your morning to hang out. I hope you enjoyed the topic at the beginning. Certainly always enjoy the discussion after the fact. And then if you have any comments after the fact, if you somehow discover this video, after it's already been published and you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and take off and get to work and try not to eat an entire bag of Starburst Duos, which honestly kind of tempting. So as always, thank you guys for your conversation, your insights, and naturally watching the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much again, and I will see you on the next one. All right.